All right, people, guess what? I'm starting a pod. Why am I starting a pod? One, because I want to, and I wanted to start one for a really long time. And two, because March is always a very big month for me, and so it felt like the right time to start one. Three, I had a breakfast meeting with my first boss ever at Valentino, and she's the smartest, chicest woman I know. And she told me that I had to do this, and so here I am doing it. Very grateful to her that she gave me that little push and that nudge, because I definitely tend to make perfection another method of procrastination, and perfection is the enemy of progress. So those are all the reasons. A couple of reasons why this one is going to be just a little bit off the cuff, and I have no idea how this is going to go, but I'm challenging myself, because over the past year, that has really been the thing that I keep coming back to, is what are all the new things that I can do? So I'll go into all the new things that I've done, but really learning to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm creating this pod. I'm calling it the Paower Pod for now, P-A-O, because my name, the Paower Pod. And I want the pod to focus mostly on the resiliency of the human spirit. I want to focus on how we can learn to embrace both the darkness and light and black and white and everything in between, and how we can learn to reframe things that don't feel amazing, how we can learn to trust in the unknown, and a place to share stories. So one of the main stories that I'll be sharing, of course, is my health journey, my journey with endometriosis, my journey with surgeries, and I would love to just explore all the things that feel very challenging to me as a way to keep myself accountable or to talk through things myself. But in the short amount of videos that I've put out, the responses that I've gotten from people has been really, really nothing short of beautiful, overwhelming in the best possible way. So I'm just here to try something new. And I think it will be a fun ride. I think that March is particularly a very special month for several reasons. So first and foremost, March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. Love that. I want to spend a lot of time this month talking about endometriosis. I want to share my journey with endometriosis ever since I was 12, all the way through different treatments I've had, different surgeries I've had, people I've met along the way, things I've learned a lot along the way, things that I've had to leave behind. I would say that there has been so much that I've learned, not necessarily just about the disease or the physicality of the disease, but everything in my life I feel like has been informed by this disease that I've had for 23 years. So I'll talk a lot about that. I also had a very big surgery. So my latest surgery for endometriosis was 3 years ago, and that anniversary was on March 15th. So March always for the past 3 years has felt a bit strange, because I always take inventory of what's happening, and so definitely want to explore themes there. I also moved into this apartment on March 1st, and last night when the wind was howling so hard, like whipping against the windows, I actually thought the windows were going to burst open with the wind and water from the river would come in. Obviously, I'm being hyperbolic. I got to thinking about how, holy moly, I have been in this apartment for 4 years now. And holy moly, so much has happened in 4 years. My life feels drastically different than it did the first day that I was here. But I remember the first day that I was in this apartment, and the wind was going, and I was so excited to be in this apartment. It was like a building that I had wanted to be in for a long time. It was in the neighborhood I wanted to be in for a long time. West Village is the best village, except on the weekends when all the people who don't live here come down here. And then, yeah, for so many reasons, it was such an exciting move for me at the time. And so the first night I was here, I was laying in bed and the wind was whipping through, and I was like, what the hell did I just do? How am I going to be able to live here when there's so much noise? Like, that is impossible. What have I done? And as I was going to bed last night and I heard the wind whipping through, and the same thing was like, whoa, I felt like, oh my gosh, wait, I felt that on the first night that I was here. And wow, to really take a step back and reevaluate all that has come in 4 years actually made me really excited to think about what are the next 4 years going to bring. And I think most acutely I've learned that nothing changes until you change yourself, and until you actually move differently through the world, until you actively excavate how you're looking at things, how you move in the world, what's your mindset, what's all the things. And so I always feel like March for me is a very good time to take inventory, to recalibrate, etc. So what do we have there? So we have March is Endo Awareness Month. We have the anniversary of a surgery that was very important to me, the anniversary of moving into this apartment, and then of course it's Women's History Month, which is also just a beautiful culmination to tying all of these things. So for that, March felt like the best time to start. And I wanted to start yesterday, but I didn't because I got scared and was like, wait, what? Like, I like, people are gonna be like, what is she doing? Like, it's not even a real podcast. Obviously, it's not a real podcast yet, but it will be. And I am also thinking about the class I took with Susie Welsh, and talking about values, and how one of my values is voice, and how much I actually really want to authentically express that voice, and how really I can just start now. One of the things that I've learned that I love, which is going to come to no surprise to anybody, is how much I like to talk, and how much I also like to listen to people, and how much I love to learn new things. So for all those reasons, a podcast feels natural. And I remember one of the most exciting projects that I was on at Monday before I left was when I got to do a podcast for Monday with some friends. And oh my God, did I just feel so happy and so alive in that environment. So I wanted to recreate that and take things into my own hands and see if I can recreate that fun for myself. I also am purposefully time boxing myself because I have to leave to go meet a friend in literally like 15-20 minutes. So for that reason, I'm like, okay, I'm time boxing myself. I'm just going for it. I'm seeing what happens, and I'll figure it as I go, because that's also what I need to be doing in my life right now. I'm learning I cannot overplan. And yeah, so these are my general rantings and ravings and ongoings. I don't think my running joke is that I don't think anybody would ever accuse me of being succinct, but here we are. The Paower Pod. So, okay, I want to start with thinking about endometriosis and how that has really been the foundation of my life, and how that has turned me over and under and inside out, and it's just wow. It has been something that has rocked me in every which way, and each new month, each new couple of months, each new year, there's always some level of turnover with my body. Things that were working are no longer working, and vice versa. I'm feeling fine one second, I'm not feeling fine the next. And the biggest lesson I've learned through all of this, years of, being in induced menopause or going through surgery or trying different drugs and treatments, is the best thing to have in your treatment plan is going to be your mindset. And I'm not saying that I always have the best mindset, because I know that I 100% do not. But what I am learning is that the quicker that I can rebound from a moment where I don't feel amazing, and I can look at the positive, and I can learn to, instead of taking that very conditioned neural pathway to shame myself and be horrible to myself, or to just start with the I can't, if I can even catch myself going there, which I do find myself in that moment of catching way more than I ever did, that helps recenter me. And so I really believe that challenging our own mindsets and belief systems is always important, but I think especially when navigating a particular chronic disease. And something I've gotten really good at doing actually is finding the silver lining in things, trying to understand, like, okay, what was the lesson here? What did this teach me? Even if it's incredibly painful, even if things have come out of nowhere, where's the lesson? And how can I use that? And how does that fuel me to be the most authentic version of myself? And not only the most authentic, but the person who is in the most integrity. And I think my favorite definition of integrity is posed by Martha Beck in her book, The Way of Integrity. And it basically has 3 tenets. It's when what you think, what you say, and what you do are all aligned. So am I thinking, oh, I really want to start a company, but I don't do anything about it? Or, oh, I really want to start a company, but if someone asks me, I say, I don't really want to do that. One of the biggest areas of alignment for me was when I did quit my job, because I had been thinking about it ever since I was in the workforce. I wanted to do what I'm doing now, and then actually taking action on that. And do I feel amazing all the time? Absolutely not. I still feel very fake. I still feel like, who am I to say anything? But actually, considering I'm taking inventory on many things right now, I look at where I am now versus the day that I came back from my Norwegian sabbatical, and I'm much further along than I realized, than I thought. I've learned so much. I've cried more than I've learned, probably. But I've learned to find the silver linings. When I had a cyst burst on New Year's Eve and I was crying on my bathroom floor, praying to any God above to help me get through this, I also was crying and really signing a verbal letter of apology to my body and to myself for how harsh I was being to it. And I felt like in that moment of excruciating pain, I was having this conversation saying, I've been pushing you too hard. I've been so mean to you. I've not really respected you. I haven't been grateful for you. You have actually not given me so much pain in the way that I used to feel. And I took that for granted. I took it for granted. I got really cocky with it. And my body reminded me why I started this business. My body reminded me that there was so much to be grateful for. And my body reminded me that it's listening to me. And I think our bodies and our minds really do hold on to the things we think and we say and we do. Even if we think it's a throwaway comment and we leave it away, I don't believe that really goes away. So yes, for all these reasons, I love to explore all these different topics, and yeah. Again, I didn't want to overthink it. I think week after week I'll learn what are the things, like I would love to have like a specific format, and I have ideas for like, okay, this is going to be this section, this is going to be this section. I definitely want to end a certain way. But okay, the topic of today, just because in another reason in light of Endometriosis Awareness Month. So I had a scan with my doctor 2 weeks ago, and it actually was a pretty positive scan. So I was telling her how I had we were talking about my cyst rupture, and she was like, okay, yeah, remind me, it was on the right-hand side, right? Because we'd done she looked at an ultrasound right before I went in to see her for my appointment. And she saw like a little endometrioma there. She couldn't say for certain, actually, she said, but it does look like it could be a little endometrioma, but it's tiny, tiny, tiny. And you have another fibroid. And I was like, oh, okay, could that be causing these other symptoms that I was having? Like literally having to anyway, other little symptoms that I was having. And she was like, no, I think that would honestly be too small. We talked about my PMDD symptoms, and we talked about different routes of medication there. I was like, doc, this PMDD is actually getting to be so out of control. Like, it is insane. Like, I promise I'm a normal person, but 2 weeks out of the month, like before my period and like during my period, I'm a total psychopath. Like, I just cry so much. The world is going to end. I'm worthless. Like, I can't move forward. And so she was talking to me about how, you know, sometimes they've seen success with people taking medication, you know, like an SSRI for 2 weeks out of the month, just to treat PMDD during that time, and then going off for 2 weeks and kind of flip-flopping. I currently don't yet feel like I'm ready to do that, so I'm trying to focus on other things. Like, I'm trying to go to acupuncture a lot more, which really helps. I'm really trying to double down on TM, my meditation. And another one of the things that I think is really smart about our bodies is that I think it also lets us know when we need some recalibration. And for that, I really also mean with my nutrition. So they call them comorbidities, but people with endometriosis tend to have so many other issues in other areas of the body. And one of those is really endometriosis and gastro issues are like hand in hand. And I'm really prone to infections in my intestines. And I'm really prone to endobelly because when endometriosis affects your other organs because of the growth that are happening outside your uterus, when they're all like all over your abdomen, and it can even be in your head, it can be in your nostrils, it can be in your lungs, it can be in your back. Like, endo can spread everywhere. And I've recently also been having like, I guess I shouldn't say horrible things anymore, but for the purpose of this conversation, ridiculous endobelly. I'm talking about like, I mean, I know that I've not been eating the healthiest, which is another thing that I need to talk about, but also like the endobelly is actually insane. Like, I look 6 months pregnant and it's really uncomfortable and it really messes with my head. And I'm like, oh, what? How do I feel about myself right now? But back to the silver lining and back to the mindset, I've really learned to like stop myself in that track and say like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? I think our bodies are such a miracle, and I think that they, rather than hating us and being horrible to us, I think they're just trying to give us information. So I have been drinking alcohol, not excessively, but I'll have like 1 or 2 drinks a week. And I think that that's really been messing with me. I've been eating way more like starch. So my GI doctor, he's prescribed me over and over and over again a very specific diet where I really need to be careful as to how much sugar, starch, carbs I consume. Again, this is just for me, just for all of my biomarkers and all the extensive genetic testing, blood testing, other tests I've done in combination with my gynecologist. So this is all doctor sanctioned and prescribed. But because of endometriosis and I'm prone to get these infections in my small intestine, called SIBO, I really need to be careful. And I have not been nourishing myself properly. I haven't been doing that. But I don't want to be mean to myself. And I also just think that it's an invitation to start over, start clean, start fresh. And I don't mean clean like clean eating. I just mean like we're wiping the slate clean. I did what I did. I ate what I ate. I drank what I drank. And I think in the past, endometriosis used to just feel like this constant roller coaster, like, oh, I already did an elimination diet, and then I felt better, and then I reintroduced foods, and then like I learned that I actually can have this, or I can have that, and I can have that. And what I actually think is a blessing about this disease is that it actually causes you to be like, Okay, well, too bad, so sad if something worked for you in the past and it's not working anymore. We constantly have to reevaluate and re-excavate and re-scan what's working for us and what's not. And that could be with food, that could be in our habits, that could be with the people that we're with, that could be in how we speak to ourselves. Like, not everything has to stay the same. In fact, nothing in life stays the same. That's one of the hardest things for me, actually. I always kind of get my heart broken when I think about how, like, literally nothing will ever be the same, but change is the only constant. And this year, I really want to learn how to embrace that, because that always made me so sad. So this morning, I woke up and I was like, I do not feel great. Last night, I was at my friend's party, did not feel great at all. She saw it all over my face. And that makes me sad when, you know, you're somewhere to celebrate somebody and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, I'm fine. And I'm like, I'm really not fine, but I don't want to bring that to your celebration. So here I am. And so this morning I was like, oh geez, Paola, like, we really have to go back on an elimination diet. And I just don't love those words. I don't mind it in practice. I think it's a very healthy thing, but I just didn't love it. So I'm coming up with a new word, and I'm just calling it like my recalibration station, my reevaluation station, having a little attitude change about it. I don't want to say I can't have this or I can't have that, I can't have that. I really want to focus on the positive, like, what is it that I'm doing? So I will be cooking more of my meals, which I have been doing, but I will be increasing, or not increasing or decreasing. I'm just thinking, like, I will be eating celery in the morning, or I will be eating many vegetables, or I will be drinking tea. Now, I actually stopped drinking coffee a while ago, but I will be drinking tea without milk. Recently, I've just been loving my London fogs, and I'm like, okay, I think maybe I'm having way too much dairy. I don't want to have almond milk because that has so much sugar in it wherever I go. And so anyway, I don't need to bore you with all the things that I'm doing with the things that I'm putting into my body, but I'm calling it my recalibration station, and I'm seeing how my body is going to respond. I'm seeing how I'll notice changes, how my endobelly is, how my GI issues are, and also, most importantly, how my mind is and how my heart is doing when I'm really nourishing myself. Because I think the more that we lean into this psychosomatic, holistic system that we have going on, we will genuinely start to feel better. I think that chronic illness is, actually, this isn't even a thought. I use that word too much. They are studying in many different medical fields the associations between trauma and chronic illness, and the associations of stress and chronic illness. And it's not to blame myself like, oh my God, I gave myself endometriosis, but I definitely need to look at what is my own part in this. And I also need to learn how to detach from it a little bit. Someone once pointed out to me, a woman that I also really respect, I had said, oh, that'll be the anniversary of, you know, my surgery for, and she was like, oh, your surgery for what? And I said, oh, for my endometriosis. And she was like, wait, what? Why is it your endometriosis? Like, why are you owning it? Why are you holding it? And while I'm incredibly grateful for it, because it has led me to, oh gosh, so much pain, but so much liberation ultimately, she really caught my eye on what is the mindset. So I now really want to work with my body on how I can just feel better. And instead of being like, oh, my body hates me, it's horrible, I'll never get better, there's no disease, God, I can't believe doctors don't do this, can you believe? And just like, there's a Spanish word for like complaining, but it's even more, it's like quejando. Like, instead of quejando todo el tiempo, like, what am I gonna do about it? And let me see how I can work with my body. How can I think better thoughts? How can I feel better? What are the things that I can do? And a lot of that is just going to be in me learning how to be me without being scared. I do so much in this world being scared, and I didn't realize how scared I was. I have actually been full of terror, and I didn't even realize it. Many more episodes to come on how and what the terror is and all the different sources of it, and how I had no idea that it was even living inside of me. But honestly, I think this podcast is just more for me and to get things out and to help me in my healing journey, because there's a lot that's been stuffed down. So going to be recalibrating, and I hope that if you have any topics that you want to talk about, anything you want me to share about my journey, I'd really love to hear from you. If you have a really cool story and you want to come on the pod and you want me to interview you, that would be amazing, because honestly, one of my favorite things to do in this whole wide world is to interview and just chat with people. So yeah, that's my invitation. I have to go meet my friend now, so this by no means was perfect, but I'm learning that, like, who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. None of it matters. So I'm gonna learn to just have fun, and I hope that maybe if you're watching me and you're feeling like, oh my God, that's so cringe, maybe that's helpful for you to be like, well, at least I'm not her, at least I'm not doing that. And if that gives you like a little oomph that like, okay, well, at least I'm not crazy like her, and you feel better about yourself, like, okay, great. So there you go. I'm convincing myself that I'm doing everybody a service by talking so that they feel better about themselves, that they're not embarrassing themselves like me. All right, that's it for the Power Pod. I want to come up with ways to like really end strongly. I think I have this deck of affirmation cards that I always used to read to my team every day at work at the Monday office. And I can't find them right now. I don't know where I put them. I definitely have been reshuffling a lot of things around here in the apartment, but I will find them. But in place of that, I always buy yogi tea, and I swear I did not pick this one out on purpose. But the messages always just seem to resonate regardless. So what does it say? It says, the world needs your unique gifts. Don't leave with them still inside you. We've all heard this one before, but I love it. The world needs your unique gifts, and don't leave with them still inside you. Okay, that's all. Kisses. Bye-bye.